a foreign Star Works production.
Hello there. Do you like music and bourbon? Well, you came to the right place. Welcome to the Bourbon Groove. Hey there, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of the Bourbon Groove. I am your host, Tyler. Before we get into another so fresh and so clean episode, I ask that you enjoy. And if you feel so inclined, share the episode with a friend or tell them about it. It helps, and a thank you. Today, we're doing something different. Instead of just, in your face, this is the music that pops into my head when drinking this bourbon sucker, we're doing a blind A and B on two whiskeys produced by the same folks. And yes, there will be music talk as well. Full disclosure, I've already had both of these whiskeys. If you're looking for election talk, okay. We did that on True Sauce Sunday, and if you have not heard that episode, spoiler, it is the last True Sauce Sunday. If you want to know all that, just go ahead and listen to Sunday's episode. We're not going to rehash it right now. But this weekend was interesting. This week, I guess. What do we do? So I feel like I have to tell you guys my personal life now, because that's what sells according to everybody. So I'm going to tell you my wonderful, wonderful time. So it was Veterans Day yesterday, so myself and the son, we drove to another town called Portsmouth. We hung out at the mall, played around a bit, had some lunch, had some fun. It was the first interaction that I got to see where he actually played with other kids. Usually he wants to just play with me, and I guess now that he's in kindergarten and he's too grown-ass for that shit, he found a couple of friends to play tag with, and the rest was proverbial history. So we had a good time. He went to the Hot Topic. He picked out a couple of toys because that is his toy store, I guess, is Hot Topic. So that's what's going on with me. I'm also fighting a sickness. My son has got sick, and I am also getting sick. So I had to do this show before all my senses went to shit. Otherwise, we would just do a remix episode or something, and I just didn't want to do that. I've been really wanting to do this episode for a few weeks now, and I'm so excited to do it. If you don't know, this is two Coors products that we will get into, and I've never done an A-B tasting before, or blind tasting before on the show. I've done it for my birthday 1 year, where we did, it was 3-chord strange collaboration. We had a Jack Daniel's Tennessee Taster that was finished in wine barrels. There was, what else was on there? I think there was the Wilderness Trail Rye, and then there was something else. I don't recall. But it was all 4 new whiskeys I've never had before, and we did a blind tasting, and I believe the Wilderness Trail won. If I remember correctly, that was a couple years ago. So I could be mistaken. Yes, so anyway, let's talk about these two first, these whiskeys, and set the rules. Okay, I have here a glass of the Five Trail Flagship Blend and another glass with Barmen 1873 in it. These are in 2 identical glasses. They are the Lynchburg Winery glasses that we got, that we had to pay for to get the tasting of the wine in a dry county. Wink. And so they're exactly identical. I put an A and B at the bottom. I had the wife mix it up a little bit, so I don't know which one's which. They are the exact same color as far as I can tell. They are 2 different bourbons. These 2 products come from Coors Distilling Co. out of Golden, Colorado. Yes, that Coors. And the idea to compare the 2 came during our Five Trail Scott Pilgrim show a couple of weeks ago, where I wanted to have both in my house at the same time to compare the 2. And it happened. I was able to find the Barmen 1873. It was on sale. And I was like, yeah, boy and girl, and not binary. I'm going to try not to sneeze. In fact, you know what? Let's pause a second. I'm going to sneeze, and I'll be right back. And for journalistic integrity, I'm just going to pretend like I sneezed right here. You ready? Sneeze. So I failed to mention what else we did this weekend. I went to dance class with my kid, and then after that, after seeing him kick ass on the dance floor, we went to Flag Hill Distilling and Winery. I completely forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show. Don't know what the hell's wrong with me, but they do a really cool tasting option where you can actually taste their wine and their whiskey. So I had their American single malt, their rye, I had their plum wine, I had their grappa, I had the wheat, and then their rum. And it was all very good. The grappa wasn't my thing. Kind of tasted more like a hooch, like moonshine hooch that I've gotten from people in Tennessee, if you get my drift. And yeah, it was a good time. It's on a farm, obviously, because, I mean, it's a winery and distillery. People very nice there. It's a cool hang. Highly recommend it. That's Flag Hill in Lee, New Hampshire. I believe they're the biggest distillery in the state. If they're not, then I'm sorry that I lied. But yes, the American single malt is probably my favorite out of all of those. The rye, I never had the rye before. I've only had the bourbon before. And the wheat was very good. For a 4-year wheat, very good. But I digress, junior high. Let's talk about these whiskeys, shall we? Here's the stats on both. The 5 Trail Flagship Blend is, if you need to be reminded, a 4-year wheated bourbon from Indiana, which is 51% corn, 45% wheat, 4% malted barley. A 4-year 4-grain bourbon, which is in Kentucky, 36% of that. So we got 60% corn, 26% rye, 10% wheat, 4% malt. A 6-year single malt from Colorado. Only 8% is in there, and that is, guess what, 100% malt. And then lastly, we have a 12-year bourbon made in Kentucky, 5% of that. We're looking at 78% corn, 10% rye, 12% malt. And, of course, Rocky Mountain water, because that's what makes Coors, if you ask me. We'll get into that later. And the 1873 Barmen, or the Barmen 1873 blend, is undisclosed. But rumor has it this was mixed, mastered, and whatevered by Peggy No Stevens, and she helped curate the blend there, so that's a thing. The Barmen 1873 has won several awards, including double gold at the San Francisco Funk Fest, or whatever it's called. The brand has partnered with the likes of My Heart is a Truck for some ass reason, Lainey Wilson for random pop-ups at bars in Nashville, which we have covered before in our radio shows that we used to do. It's named after the town Coors founder Adolph Coors' great-great-great-grandfather was from. Yes, I think that's right. So the first guy, yes. And in 1873 was when Coors, the brewery, was established. It's also important to note, because of the first name, Adolph, most, if not all, literature on the subject is just gone, according to Coors. So they usually call him Ad or A. Coors. They try not to use that name, obviously. And just like on our other previous episode where we talked about Adolph Coors III, or Ad, people tried to erase the name, of course, which is understandable, so, but do you know, we keep it real with integrity here. Just a fun observation. Just thought I'd throw it out there as I talk randomly because I'm hopped up on all kinds of medicine. So this brand appears to be the everyday drinker for the brand. The Barmen 1873, that is. It's priced at just $30 here in the New Hampshire. I would easily do that, no problem, all day, every day. Coors says it pairs well with their not Coors Light, but the banquet beer. And a fun fact here, I believe we mentioned it in the other show, but I'm not sure. And I'm sorry I keep sniffing in the mic. I'm trying not to do that. But fun fact, I've only ever had banquet beer once in my life, and that was at the Coors Brewery in Golden, Colorado, in a small bar made of ice. So when you've had it that fresh and that cold, there's really no way to ever have it again to be that good, so I have abstained. But it is interesting, and as a reminder, Coors brand Blue Moon was a hit at my workplace, and they carried on to various other special edition releases, like their Chai Spice being my favorite. I also love me some Killian's Irish Red, and my favorite, and unfortunately, it was a limited time offering, the Batch 19, which is a pre-prohibition recipe that they allegedly found just hanging out somewhere, and they're like, let's make this shit, and it was delicious. Now, this show got me so hyped up and so excited because I have not had these two bourbons in a couple of weeks at this point. Have been saving the 5 Trail since I found that they had the Barmen 1873. And so I have not had either one of them. So I'm trying to make this tasting the most fair that I can, because I'm going to pick out the two. Which one's my favorite? My opinion, and all that good stuff. But I've been so hyped with this that I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to buy me a Coors Light. So I got one of the big tall boys, the 24 ounces, bad boys the other day. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to drink this, and then that'll get my scratch itched, my butt licked, my whatever. I don't know what it is. I don't know the saying. I don't claim to understand it. And if I said anything wrong, whatever. But it's I was like, I'm going to drink this to see what happens. I drank it. I actually liked it. So what did I do the next day? I went and bought more. So I got a 12-pack sitting in the refrigerator. Well, I think probably a 9 at this point. And I've just been so excited for this because I just love me some Rocky Mountain water. Yes, please. So anyway, let's pause for a moment there. I love that offering. Batch 19, got it a bunch, including this special pack that you got a couple of pint glasses. And I don't know what was more tragic, Batch 19 going away or having various people in my life breaking those pint glasses, because now I have 0. Coors also make Colorado Native, which I loved. Still have the sticker off the neck of the bottle on the old wallet I once used all the time. We'll talk more about what Coors is up to after this tasting. So, I've had both of these expressions already, as I said before, and in preparation for the show, I have not had either spirit for at least a week. It's been almost 2, I think, with the Barmen 1873, and easily almost a month with the 5 Trail. So, and that was quite hard, to be real. Shit, the 5 Trail was like bad freaking ass, but as soon as I saw that the Barmen was on sale, I knew I had my idea of blending these two, or blinding these two, for this show, and I was just so excited about it. So, as a reminder, we covered 5 Trail and how it tastes like Scott Pilgrim by Plum Tree. I didn't really get too much into the band itself. We talked more about the movie, which is normal because I know more about the movie than some relatively unknown Canadian pop rock band from the 90s. So it was a fun trip down Scott Pilgrim Lane. It hasn't gotten me to watch the movies again, though, but I will watch it eventually and maybe watch the show. They did a cartoon a couple years ago, and I kind of did not like it because it didn't have like that fast-paced version that Edgar Wright is known for in the movie. And I kind of got bored with it real quick. And I mean, I don't think that... I mean, they had pretty much all the same people reprising their roles, but they just... was like, it missed the magic, and maybe I'm wrong, and again, one day I'll actually watch that show, maybe, or it might be like a Clockwork Orange situation where someone's gonna have to strap me in and have my eyes pulled open. But either way, I'm gonna watch it because I am a fan of Scott Pilgrim. I like the movie, I like the comic, I like that song, obviously, because it popped into my head when we had this 5 Trail. I love the 5 Trail. I'm looking at the bottle, so I have the bottle sitting right here next to me. It's almost empty, and it's driving me nuts that it's going to be empty soon. Luckily enough, I think I'm the only person in the whole damn state that knows what 5 Trail is, so I don't think we're going to have it sold anytime soon. So there's still a few bottles in the liquor store that I frequent. And what's cool about New Hampshire is I can just look it up online at which one. And I probably just spoiled it, and you're probably going to go get it, and then I'll have no 5 Trail, and then that I shall kill you. But anyway, I don't know where that went. So, shockingly, it's crazy that I got 2 different bands when having these expressions, and I'm very interested to try the blind. So, we'll talk about which group I got with the Barmen 1873 after we do the blind tasting. And again, this is our first blind tasting, so any slurps or gulping sounds will be edited out in post with different audio, to keep it light and not weird like all those other whiskey podcasts. Well, most of them, where they just kind of like, like breathe into the microphone and like you hear them gulp like significantly. Like my kid one night, back when he was still needed like a help from a bottle. Well, not really, kind of like a bottle. Like it was from a cup, but it had like a little nipple on the end, but it wasn't actually a bottle anymore. He needed something in the middle of the night, and one night he was just going, And I just could not stop laughing. And so he thinks it's hilarious and does it all the time on purpose to this day. Usually to mimic being scared. So he'll be like, I don't want to go in the dark. And then he'll, and it's very, very cute. He's a cool 5-year-old. So let's go ahead and head on over to that tasting now. I'm going to hit it. Here it is. Now time for a groovy tasting. Whew, sorry, I had to get that out real quick because my nose was just running. Like I've had what? Cold medicine. I've had sinus medicine. I had just regular pain medicine. I squirted the little eucalyptus shit up my nose, and so I am trying to survive just for this last episode because this is probably going to be the last one. I'm probably going to die before it's all said and done. So we have 2 glasses. I'm going to clink them so you know it's real. Again, from the Lynchburg Winery. Here we go.
A sniffy.
The first one.
A sniffy.
So they have a similar smell to them, which is not a shocker, but they are different whiskeys that go into this. So
A sniffy.
I don't know if it's because I'm like starting to lose my sense of smell. Like I told the wife, before you go, because she's took the kid to karate, before you go, I need you to make this blind for me happen because I'm about to lose my sense of smell and taste probably.
A sniffy.
So right now, I think the one in my left hand, which I don't know which one that is, smells much better
A sniffy.
than the one in my right hand.
A sniffy.
Just a little bit. It has a little bit more of like a sweetness to it. So I'm going to drink that one first because I think that one's going to be the winner for me.
A drinky. A gulp.
Yep. That one's very good. Love it. So if you're not familiar, I mean, Coors Distilling Co. has only been around for a few years. I remember when they announced that they were going to make whiskey, people were like, what is it going to be, distilled Coors? And what they end up shocking people is they just sourced all the whiskey, including that Colorado single malt, which is made from the same barley that they make their Coors with. And so, that being said, you're still getting that Coors vibe. And that's what's pretty sweet about it. So I love that idea. And it definitely has that taste to it. Let's see about this other. We'll say right hand. Because I don't know which ones. I know what A and B is. Like, I only have the 5 Trail sitting with me right now. And it is B. So I'm not going to look at the glasses. So I'm not going to tell you which one's which. Because then I'll know which one it is. And that'll just, destroy everything.
A sniffy. A drinky. A gulp.
So I think this one is probably, the one I just had in my right hand, is the Barmen 1873. Because it has that younger vibe to it. Whereas the 5 Trail has the aged to perfection, full of fine lines, wine type deal. It is, these are different, but like, it just tastes like a younger version of it, which is crazy because it is 2 different types of whiskeys together. Or 4 different types of whiskeys. And again, we don't know what's in the Barmen 1873, so it's all speculation. Maybe it's all the same shit. I don't know. Beats me. Let's see. Let's try the one in my left hand again.
A sniffy. A drinky. A gulp.
Yeah, so that one has like less of a burn. And more, it's to the point, more, whiskey forward. Because I'm starting to lose my sense of taste. So I've had perfectly fine taste all day long. And now it's just starting to go away as I start recording this. So this is going to be interesting. So I'm going to try the one in my right hand.
A drinky. A gulp.
Now they're kind of like the same almost now. So I don't know if it's because I'm losing the sense of smell and taste, but that burn is still there, but not like a significant burn. But I do like both of them. They're both very good. And when we get them down to a level that is low enough, I will blend them together or mix them like an adult would say and see what we get from it. So I am going to take a drink from my favorite one here.
A drinky, a gulp.
Which is the one in my left hand. And I hope to goodness this is the Barmen 1873 because I would love to be able to get this at $30 all day, every day. Whereas I think the 5 Trail is like 45 right now. It's on sale, so maybe it's like 40. I don't know. Either way, if it goes any lower, I'm buying all of it. You know, I'm just telling you right now. Because it is very good and unique. I mean, I think any whiskey that blends an American single malt into it, you're going to get some cool flavors that you don't normally get anywhere else. And I know that I could have probably said that more fancy-like, but I ain't that type of person. So, I mean, I guess I could pull it off. Let's see. Usually when you use a single malt in the blend, it provides a nuanced complexity to it that not other bourbons have. Or something. Anyway, so before we get into which one I like the most and the big reveal, let's hit you with the only podcast segment that could outlast a zombie apocalypse. Here's 50 States of Whiskey. Play that theme song, motherfucker! 50 States of Whiskey theme song. And that was quite a quick break. Though to you, you're probably like, that only happened like 1 second. Nah, dog. I took a little bit of break, had some water, thought about my life, and then also thought about the whiskey that I just drank and have picked a winner accordingly. So, we back at it. Asthmatic, all das it, and whatnot. I don't know. I thought I would do the greatest twist in 50 States of Whiskey and do another Colorado distillery, even though we've already crowned 291 Colorado Whiskey as our pick for Authentically Colorado back at our Alicia Cara / Jim Beam Black Label show a couple of months ago back. But, no, we'll do something else. We're going to cover the state that you can accidentally drive to if you miss your exit to Fort Collins in upstate Colorado. Speaking from personal experience, we're covering Wyoming. Basic bitch, and choosing the easy one of all would be to choose Wyoming whiskey, but you would be wrong. If you're a long-time listener to the show like I am, you'll know that I did not like Wyoming whiskey, Sam I Am, even though I tried it with green eggs and ham. I tried it in the house, I tried it with a mouse, I just could not stomach Wyoming whiskey. It actually made me feel sick, so I decided to pour it into an infinity bottle, and eventually it blended well with all the other stuff that I had, which I believe was like Elijah Craig Barrel Proof and Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof, and various other brands that made Wyoming whiskey more palatable. But this is no hate to them. Much respect for what they're doing. It just wasn't for me. Even though there are a few distilleries in Wyoming that I think are worthy of the title, we are drilling in on Pine Bluff Distilling in Pine Bluff, Wyoming. Founded in 2017 by Chad and Teresa Brown, husband and wife duo, along with their aunt Kathy Brown, they have turned an idea into reality. Sourcing all of their grains locally, malting their own grains, and experimenting with different types of flavor profiles and, lack for other words, grains. Pine Bluff's distilling seems to really be trying to spread the love of what makes Wyoming special. Pretty much every type you can think of, really. They got your single malts, they got your rye, you got wheat bourbon, they got rye whiskey, they even have show favorite an oat whiskey, and a 5-grain with all of that in one bottle. Yes, freaking please. As a brand that focuses on every aspect of the distilling process, including the malting and mentioning before and sweet mashing, meaning that they would have to clean up after every fermentation, this is just a brand that deserves to be considered authentic Wyoming. It wasn't like, hey, we're a bunch of millionaires and we're just going to make a brand, hire a bunch of consultants to distill this stuff, and then move on with their lives. No, they took a full hands-on approach to it and created a product that is worthy of being called considered authentically wild. Or Wyoming. I don't know. Now, I can go on and on about Yellowstone to show or pretend to give a shit about all that stuff that don't know what I'm talking about because I've never seen the show. I've seen one episode, and what I saw was kind of corny. So, but yeah, again, just like Wyoming whiskey and Yellowstone, just not my thing. And I'm assuming that takes place in Wyoming. I'm not going to look it up not worth my time, not worth your time. If you're a fan of that show or a fan of that whiskey, watching both, watch, Wyoming whiskey and drink Yellowstone. I don't know if it's worth the same. If it works the same way, like, when I drink bourbon and I taste a song, maybe when you people drink Wyoming whiskey, they taste Kevin Costner's musk. But that would explain why I felt ill after drinking it, because I don't often drink other men's musk. But I think I need to digress before this gets us too much in the weeds. But shout out to Bluff Pines Distilling. I love what you're doing there and appreciate your attention to the quality and supporting the community. And just for funsies, I think we should have what Vine Pair picked for their one bourbon from every state that you need to take home with your shit that they did a couple weeks ago and stole our idea, and I'm still a little bitter by. Yep, and wouldn't you know it, these basic bitches went ahead and picked Wyoming whiskey. What a shocker. They said that the barrel proof is the shit's McGillicuddy, and they would be wrong because that's the one I had, and it was not good. So maybe it was the single barrel that I had that wasn't good. Maybe the barrel that was picked for this expression that I drank was finished in like elephant manure. I don't know. I don't claim to understand the process. I don't know what makes it authentically Wyoming, but it wasn't on our list. But that's why we went with a brand that actually doesn't want to do that. In fact, wants to make something good. So shout out Pine Bluffs in Wyoming. Y'all are the best. Now, before we get back to the show and what I picked for my favorite in our blind tasting and why I'm starting to bumble and not make any damn sense, and add the cold and flu medicine on top of that, and what song we got with drinking Barmen 1873, we gotta hear that song one more time. That theme song, baby. The same theme song that Elvis Costello said was his main inspiration for continuing to music. Hit it. 50 States of Whiskey theme song. Listen, I know I was all over the place at the end, but like I said, I am medicated. I've had alcohol because to be honest, these are generous pours that I did for this tasting, and most of it is gone already. So what I did was I emptied out the glass of my choice as my favorite, and then poured it into whatever was left in the other one to create a blend, which I'm going to have now for the first time.
A drinky, a gulp.
Yes. And that adds a whole other dynamic to it that is just amazing. Wow. Okay, I definitely have to get another 5 trail just to mix these up together, because, man, them twos together is the best thing I've had in a long time. Holy moly. Woo. Like, all the taste buds that were about to die are back at it, and they are loving it. So it was kind of hard to pick, but I did go with the one that didn't burn as much, though I am into that freaky shit sometimes. Ooh. So the winner is A. Holy smackaronis. Ooh. Barmen 1873 beat 5 Trail for me, of course. And that is a great thing because, like I said, that shit's only $30 on the shelf all day, every day. And the 5 Trail's a little bit more expensive. The bottle looks fucking cool as shit, which is a bummer that I can't get more of that. I mean, I guess I could. But I guess, with the 5 Trail, it is 3 proof points higher than the Barmen 1873. And it has older stuff in it, but obviously whatever they mixed in it just really rocked my world, because the 1873 Barmen just smacked it in the face and called it its mama, which I think is a saying, but I could be wrong. But this is great. This is great news, because I love to spend only $30 instead of $50 or $45, whatever it was. Though the blend of both of them together is freaking fantastic.
A drinky, a gulp.
That's it. Whew. I finished it. So let's skip. That's what I'm talking about. So our very first blind tasting, and I was shocked to find that the Barmen 1873 beat the 5 Trail flagship blend, and I'm grateful for that again financially, and I can't wait to buy more of the Barmen 1873 and bring it to parties and stuff. People are like, oh, this shit is fancy looking, because the bottle looks cool. It's like the long wine thing, and it has the cool I think it's like a lion, if I remember. I don't have the bottle here, but it has like the little shield and everything. Very cool looking bottle, and I am ecstatic that it is the one that I prefer over the two. So shout out Coors Distilling Co. I appreciate what you guys are doing just in general, and ladies, and non-anyone's, and people who are high as shit because it's Colorado and that's okay there. Whatever you're doing there, you're doing it awesome. I love what you've done so far, and after this show, I'm going to crack me another Coors Light because that's what we do here. So let's get to the band that I tasted when drinking this Barmen 1873. It's a little Atlanta act known to the world as simply Outkast with a K because it's cool. And their big boy fronted hit, I Liked the Way You Move, from 2003's speaker box, The Love Below. In fact, the very first thing that popped into my head after taking a drink of that fine-ass bourbon was the fine-ass bass line and beat to that song. I threw it on in good old speaker box of my own and found that these two paired perfectly with each other. And since we've only talked about bourbon and whiskey this whole episode, and we are the Bourbon Groove after all, let's go ahead and talk about the music, shall we? Okay. Outkast was Big Boy with and Andre 3000 with 3 zeros and not O's, because O's are a letter and not a number, sucker. The group was founded in 1992. The two guys met at a mall and were like, hey, we should be one of the most influential bands in hip-hop one day. And the rest was history. Truthfully, I first heard of this group in 2000 with their album Stankonia. The local rock radio station played the rock version of B.O.B., a.k.a. Bombs Over Baghdad, which was one of my first times this radio station played hip-hop that wasn't Limp Bizkit. They also played Lose Yourself by Eminem, which was also a rock version, again with guitars distorted. That's what makes it rock. This rock version, which I believe is different from the Zach De La Rocha of Rage Against the Machines remix, introduced me to the group that was starting to make its way on the MTVs of the world. But likely those two were the same song because now I appreciate the original version better than the rock version, in quotes. And speaking of MTV, hold on. Let me move my cane. Back in my day, MTV played music videos. It was called music television. That's what MTV stood for. How does a teenager pregnant have to do with music? What does catfishing have to do with music? Well, I guess a lot, really. I mean, never mind. Do you know how many times I've been catfished by a single, thinking that the album would be just as great as the one song, only to find out that it's a dirty-ass, basement-living Gollum type on the rest of these tracks? Yeah, the catfish makes sense, but what about all that other nonsense? The real world? I mean, the real world was expecting music videos, not this ham-for-the-cam crap. All right, it's about time to take my pills, watch me some wholesome show from the 60s, and go to bed. But before we do that, here's an ad from one of our sponsors, and when we get back to it, we'll stay on topic. Hit it. Hi there. Are you tired of the boys in blue rolling up on your crew, telling what you do? Do you know what you should tell them? You should tell them to buy 1999's Method of Mayhem album titled Methods of Mayhem, featuring Get Naked and the song we just quoted, Proposition Fuck You. It's a proposition. Fuck you, it's a proposition. Featuring Tommy Lee on vocals and probably drums, because that's what he does, as well as random people like Lil' Kim and Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit. Go get it. Go get Methods of Mayhem. Great album. On CD. Sold used at most record stores. Get it now. Wicka wicka. That was probably the most random ad I've ever done, but it's what popped into my head when I hit pause, so that's what we do. Just like when we do these shows, when I drink a whiskey and I taste a song, that's just what I do. So this is MTV. They were required to do two things back in those days. One, have commercial breaks that lasted about 10 minutes, and two, play Miss Jackson by Outkast every few minutes. It was on non-stop play, and those same rock stations were playing it too. So I ended up buying the Stankonia CD like, say, everyone else, which has sold over 5 million copies, which is commendable because the album came out shortly before the internet pirating software dismantled the music world. I never got into the Fresh and Clean song. However, as it was played, probably even more times than Miss Jackson, and anything that came out afterwards, including Hey Ya, combined. Though admittedly, I listen to that song quite often and usually use it in any kind of social media post to show that I'm boasting. This is probably the best time to say, hey, check out on social media at the Bourbon Groove. The more people that visit and friend and follow and hold my hand while I go through some traumatic shit will lead us to more quality shows that I promise will happen. Because the most views we get, the more distilleries think I'm a real podcast that talks about whiskey and shit. So, get all of it. Please if you are a friend of a distillery, just tell them that this show exists. That's all I need you to do. And if you're a friend of a band that's really awesome, tell them that this show exists. And then maybe they can send me their music, and maybe we'll pair it with the whiskey. I don't know. I'll do whatever. We fucking lit tonight, boy. I don't know. Now that I know, hold on. So what happened is I only have the 5 Trail in this room right now, and I poured myself some, and I like that one a lot. So either way, I like them both. And you can't go wrong with 5 Trail or the Barmen 1873. It's all dependent on what you want to spend for a quality whiskey. So it's up to you. But I like them both. But as you know, in that blind tasting, we went with the 1873. It's just what it is. So since we mentioned Hey Ya, we might as well talk about it. In 2003, Speakerboxx The Love Below, which features 2 albums for the price of one, where each member of the group had their own vision and execution of said album. Speakerboxx is Big Boy, and The Love Below would be Andre 3000. It also makes this interesting is they're only featured together as a group only on a couple of songs. Otherwise, it's a whole full album presentation separately. There were even talks at the time that the guys would release each album separately, but their management thought that it wasn't a good idea or a good look for the band at the time, even though Big Boy was done with his way before Andre was. The group decided to concede and release a split double album instead of going solo on each. The group would work with each other again in 2006 for the soundtrack to Idlewild, which features the pair in the movie as 2 friends. One's a piano player, one is his manager, and they have to be gangsters, and it's a musical drama period piece, and it sounds awesome. I have never seen it, and after we're done with this episode, I think I will go do that. Not sure where I can watch it, but I'm going to watch it nonetheless. But that would be the last time the group really officially would work together. Andre 3000 just released recently his own instrumental album, like with flutes and shit. As for Big Boy, his last album, Big Sleepover, came out in 2021. There has been some rumors the band would come back together, with Big Boy going to a few of Andre's shows. But it looks like Andre 3000 is more interested in acting under his real name, Andre Benjamin, but never say never. I mean, I recall an interview where he had like dealt with issues with confidence and performing, and that's one of the reasons why he chose to go instrumental for his newest album after so long. And he's a great actor, to be honest. I mean, I love him in Four Brothers and an excellent performance in Dispatches from Elsewhere. I mean, he crushed it. I mean, I've never seen the Jimi Hendrix biopic, so I can't speak to that. But maybe one day, perhaps after I've watched Idlewild, maybe I'll just host a whole Outkast movie rewatch party. I don't know. But anyway, the song that I got when drinking Barmen 1873 bourbon was the Big Boy track credit under Outkast. I like the way you move the move. Yeah, I love the way you move. I like the way you move. The bass, the drums, all that, just bounces off the flavors of the Barmen 1873 like it ain't no thing. And besides the music, you'll also get caramels, vanillas. You'll get a little spicy note there, but it's just a pretty good bourbon for $30. This is definitely a buy if you ask me. And to be real, so as you know, I do a full album catalog of each group or band that we cover on this show, so I listen to their whole entire thing. I have never listened to Speakerboxx The Love Below in its entirety until this show was coming to be. And what I found was Speakerboxx ain't that good. So when they said that Big Boy had finished it quicker, it's like, that is obvious because The Love Below just seems like it has more attention to it, more focus on music and not just a bunch of sounds and shit. Like, don't get me wrong, Big Boy is awesome, especially when he spells out shit, but like, it was just like a bunch of experimental nonsense that made no sense. Whereas, The Love Below was more like a whole cohesive storyline, which I can appreciate. You got your Hey Yas, you got Roses on there. Good stuff. But, if you want to hear any of these songs, all my favorite Outkast songs are early on, in the mid 1990s. And so you'll find that on our continuous playlist on Spotify, which you can find in the link in the show notes, as always, which I take, I do a curated. I tend to take like 10, 12 songs and I make it on this list. And then I also do their own separate list for the show, just so you can, have a soundtrack for whatever nonsense I'm talking about. It's also important to note that CeeLo Green, singer extraordinaire, has been credited as the third member of Outkast because of his early work with the band back in the MF day. I believe the first time the group worked together was to is in that song in Get Up, Get Out from 1996's ATLiens. That's my favorite one, too, by the way. That's my favorite Outkast song ever. The group and CeeLo have collaborated several times since. I believe CeeLo was on the Speaker Box. I don't remember if he was on The Love Below. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember. Also, Jay-Z is on Speaker Box. Interesting. But anyway, the group has amassed over 40 awards and have been both influential and responsible for some of the best music ever made. The one regret I have after living in Chattanooga for 4 years was not driving down to Atlanta and seeing the giant Outkast mural that they have down there. But Atlanta is a bitch to drive through, and I've flown out a couple of times through there, and it just... no thanks. It's just like I just want to stay at home because it's just like the worst traffic you can imagine. So many lanes to crash into. It's just a nightmare and a half. Like, I think at some point there's like 8 lanes of traffic. It is fucking bullshit, to say the least. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. Anyway, it's not like I'm missing Outkast. I'm just seeing somebody's picture portrayal of them. That's the only way I can like make peace with it, really. It would have been nice though. A picture on the gram at least. But alas, didn't happen that way. Oh well, one day. But that's all I got for you fine-ass people on this fine-ass day, night, whenever you're listening to this wonderful special episode of The Bourbon Groove. I appreciate you listening and hope that you enjoyed our first blind tasting ever again. Yes, ever. The winner of that, for me, at least was... obviously, was the Barmen 1873. I look forward to seeing what else Coors Distilling Co. has up their sleeves. They already bought the butterfly one. What is that called? Blue Run. They bought the Blue Run. So, imagine they have plans, big plans, and all that other stuff that could be up their sleeves, as well as seeing if Outkast ever does come back. And if they do, will it crash or crush as much as, say, the Janelle Monáe Tightrope song that Big Boy was featured on? That is all remained to be seen. We'll see you next time for more bourbon and music blending. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at The Bourbon Groove on Instagram for updates on new episodes, artwork for nearly every show, and anything else we think of and then forget to bring up in the subsequent show. Until then... pour yourself a song and listen to your favorite bourbon and get into the Bourbon Groove.
The Bourbon Groove is a foreign Starworks production. Recorded at It Might Just Be a Garage Studios.